Tanse, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Chris Nachkate. Thank you for joining us. The Tyendinaga Police Service has charged two men allegedly impersonating a peace officer and assaulting a man with their vehicle. On Thursday, October 23rd at around 5:51 p.m., Tyendinaga police were called to Highway 2 in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory for a report of a motorcyclist being assaulted after being pulled over by a vehicle with red and blue lights. Police say Charles Somerville and Connor Bolton both allegedly impersonated a peace officer and assaulted the motorcyclist with their truck, caused the rider to fall, and then assaulted him again. Both Somerville and Bolton have been charged with assault with a weapon, impersonating a peace officer, as well as other charges. Somerville's bail hearing was held today, and an arrest warrant has been issued for Bolton. The victim was also arrested for outstanding warrants. The investigation continues this week. The Carney government introduced legislation on Thursday that seeks to tighten up the rules around applying for bail for those charged with certain crimes. But some fear the proposed changes will only lead to an even greater overrepresentation of Indigenous people within the prison system. APTN's Fraser Needham has that story.
Justice Minister Sean Fraser spoke at a press conference outside the Department of Justice building in Ottawa Thursday afternoon. He said Canadian streets are not as safe as they used to be, but admitted the government doesn't have data on whether people on bail commit more crimes.
When it comes to the management of bail and the data collection of the bail system, there's obviously a role for provinces to play as well. The ability of the court to actually enforce some of these rules will depend on a change in practices in some circumstances of the province's need to collect data about what kind of offences are going through the bail system and are actually leading to a bail decision in one direction or another.
At the presser, Fraser spoke about Bill C-14. If it passes, an accused will be more likely to be denied bail, because the accused will have to prove they should be granted bail rather than on the prosecution arguing they should be denied. Jonathan Rudin is the Special Projects Director of Toronto-based Aboriginal Legal Services. He said it is already incredibly difficult to get bail in our system, and the proposed changes will only negatively affect Indigenous people.
So this notion that we have this crisis, so many people are getting released from custody, from bail, and going out and committing crimes, that's just not happening. And that's a concern. And of course, from our perspective, the biggest concern is most of these amendments, most of these purported tougher on crime amendments have a disproportionately negative impact on Indigenous people. And that's obviously one of our real concerns.
When asked if the legislation would only increase the number of Indigenous people behind bars, Fraser said the government is working with Indigenous organizations to ensure this does not happen.
I've had a number of conversations in recent weeks in particular about the importance of implementing the Indigenous Justice Strategy, on working not just with provinces and territories, but with Indigenous governments to understand how we can have enhanced community policing, enforcement of Indigenous laws that are adopted by communities, and relying on solutions that are advanced by individual First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities more broadly.
In separate press releases, the Canadian Police Association applauded the proposed changes, while the Canadian Civil Liberties Association panned them. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
The Canadian Armed Forces will be making a formal apology to veterans who have faced racial discrimination and harassment next week in Ottawa. Amongst the crowd will be a 66-year-old retired corporal from the Lake Manitoba First Nation in southern Manitoba. He was one of the first to openly speak out about the issue. With his story, here's APTN's T.R. Wheatley.
30 years after the fact, I'm giving an apology.
Retired Corporal Melvin Swan says it's going to be bittersweet to hear the words, "We are sorry." He's been invited to Ottawa for a formal military apology on October 30th.
In my personal opinion, my health and body has been affected, as well as my spirit. There's so much distrust. I had nothing for 20 years. No veterans benefits, nothing.
In 1994, Swan won a human rights case against the military. The tribunal ruled the forces violated his rights by not properly investigating at least 8 specific cases of racism.
Many instances of discrimination, Under the Charter of Rights, Section 7, 10, and 14.
Swan joined when he turned 18.
First I became a Patricia, PPCLI, for 4 years, then I remustered to the military police. The badge I wore was a Thunderbird. The Thunderbird is personal with me. It's my spirit, my name. And for them to run away from me, not want to hear the truth, it's ironic.
He left in 1988 after serving 12 years.
I loved the military, and it was my place to go to after day school, residential school, and boarding school. So the military, ironically, was my saving grace.
He attended the Mackay Residential School in Dauphin, Manitoba.
And for this, we are sorry.
Swan heard those words once before in Ottawa in June 2008 as a survivor of the IRS system. But he says this soon-to-be military apology is much more personal. He's hoping to line up meetings in the near future to discuss recommendations moving forward.
What goes beyond this apology, I think, is I want to see a spiritual health policy for Veterans Affairs to adapt, first of all, so they can look at our traditional way of life and acknowledge who we are in this country, because without that, there's no truth and reconciliation. I want to see more integration and training for our people with an Indigenous regiment here in Winnipeg.
Expanding on opportunities like the Bold Eagle and Junior Ranger programs, both of which he had a helping hand in getting off the ground. Tiara Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
The First Nations University of Canada celebrated the grand opening of the Niwoskan Traditional Campus. Although it has already been utilized by students, a partnership with federal and provincial governments made it possible to enhance the campus. APTN video journalist Rachel May was at the celebration.
It's the center of what we do at First Nations University of Canada.
First Nations University of Canada President Dr. Jacqueline Ottman explains the importance of traditional and land-based learning for students.
We don't have to expend energy on trying to get voice for our knowledges and our traditions, to get all of those approvals so we can have smudge and lift a pipe.
The Niwoskan Traditional Campus is located along the South Saskatchewan River near St. Louis. The provincial and federal governments contributed $2.4 million, while the university added $1 million to make the campus accessible for visitors. Ottman says securing funding to make the traditional campus ready for students is an investment that will be felt for generations to come.
This is our fourth campus, and whatever we do is not only for the students today, who will impact their communities, but it's for the students 7 generations and beyond into the future.
The traditional campus is the university's fourth, alongside Prince Albert, Saskatoon, and Regina. Ottman says that while urban campuses are important, having a space where students can connect with the land is essential.
We have incredible teachings and sophisticated knowledges, complex knowledges, and sometimes what we need to do is disconnect from various distractions that could act as barriers to deeper forms of learning. And so when you drive out here, you're disconnecting from the city.
The campus now features enough natural space for students to camp and learn about Mother Nature. Several programs require students to spend between 4 and 10 days on the land, learning about culture and traditional knowledge. Prince Albert Grand Council Director of Education Ed Morasti says the traditional campus helps keep history alive and shapes the future.
And that's why it's these places here that act as third places, as they call it, where we can share and feel safe to share our stories, our histories, so that we come in as settlers, we come in as Indigenous peoples, and we share the history of colonization and how we can move forward in reconciliation.
Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
In Arizona, the organization that ran the group home of where 14-year-old Emily Pike was staying before she ran away and was later murdered is denying all allegations in a wrongful death lawsuit. Here's an update. Phillips Law Group filed the lawsuit on behalf of Emily Pike's father, Jensen Pike, on August 5th. Sacred Journey, Inc., the organization that runs the Mesa group home, said the lawsuit lacked sufficient information and demanded strict proof of the allegations and called for the lawsuit to be dismissed. Phillips Law Group says it will now provide the necessary documentation. Jensen Pike alleges the group home his daughter was staying in failed to provide reasonable care and protect his daughter before she ran away. The family hopes the lawsuit will bring justice to the family and improve oversight of group homes in Arizona. Last January, Emily Pike's remains were found off a highway in a wooded area near Globe, Arizona, after she ran away from her group home. Police have still not identified a suspect. The Arizona government have since passed Emily's Law, also called the Turquoise Alert System, that issues alerts when an endangered person under 65 goes missing. An Indigenous chef's ice cream flavor has recently been recognized by a major ice cream company. We'll have that story after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. An Indigenous chef and restaurant owner from Owen Sound, Ontario is putting his sweet treat on the world map. Zach Kishik won an international award for his sweetgrass flavor in a partnership with Canadian company Chapman's Ice Cream. CTV's Rob Cooper brings us the story.
Zach Kishik of Owen Sound is an Indigenous chef who owns and operates Nagan restaurant in the city's downtown. While his dinner here will be served locally, a recent ice cream recipe is making international headlines. He teamed up with Chapman's Ice Cream to win an international award for a new flavor that pays homage and respect to his heritage while curating the ingredients of Indigenous culture.
It's been a great opportunity for us to showcase Indigenous food and put Indigenous food on the map of Canada.
The two created a new flavor called sweetgrass, maintaining Indigenous heritage.
We've been serving a version of the sweetgrass ice cream, in our restaurant on the tasting menu for quite some time, but I wanted to showcase it on this sort of a level to, introduce people to Indigenous culture.
Chapman's no stranger to different flavors of ice cream, as they have about 180 in total. Chapman says they approached Kishik with the idea and knew it would do well internationally.
We said, let's give it a shot. Let's see if we can make this into like a real ice cream that we could kind of, market as a collaboration. So it worked.
And worked it did. International awards, international attention, and now big expectations to possibly keep it going.
We are always experimenting with different flavor profiles, but most of them don't make it in any way, shape, or form close to a grocery store. But this one was unique.
I'm hoping that it inspires other Indigenous people, to take a shot at putting their stuff out.
So what's next for the sweetgrass flavor? Chapman says if they can get it to a stable extract form, that may open the door for it to be available at your local supermarket. Rob Cooper, CTV News, Markdale.
Joining us from our Montreal bureau is Kim Sullivan, host of Nouvelle Nationale. Tanse, Kim.
Hi, Creason.
At 6:30 Eastern tonight, we air our French national broadcast, and tonight you don't limit yourself to Canada, you actually go beyond the border.
You may have heard of the controversy surrounding a group of individuals claiming to be Abenaki in Vermont and New Hampshire. Well, the Quebec Abenaki commissioned genealogy research for 8 of the group's most prominent figures, and the results are in. They are quite surprising, to be honest.
Not surprising if you've been following the story.
Indeed. With the issue of pretendianism affecting so many of our communities, it was important for us to be there for these results. We were on site and we will report them tonight.
The Quebec government is also trying to table a law of laws, and that is leaving many unhappy, Kim.
Not just unhappy, but forgotten. Multiple chiefs are actually speaking up about this Quebec-centric view of the government, trying to protect their values and their land, but forgetting that Quebec, the word in itself, is actually Indigenous, and that Quebec is not just French, mostly white, non-spiritual province, that the Indigenous people should be collaborating 100% on this constitutional law. And we have several views about that on the show. It is a hot topic here.
And on a lighter note, you had an interesting sit down with the Indigenous Screen Office.
Yep, you have until November 14th to apply for a pre-development program, Creason. So if you have a show idea in your mind, Indigenous producers and screenwriters have this financial help that helps them develop this whole screen project. It's an interesting interview, and that's what we're finishing the show on tonight.
Sounds great. See you at 6:30 Eastern Time, Kim. And the wait in Toronto is almost over for Blue Jay fans.
Let's go, Blue Jays, let's go! Let's go, Blue Jays, let's go!
Excitement in Toronto and across Canada as Jays fans, young and old, will get to see World Series baseball in Canada for the first time in 3 decades tonight. The Toronto Blue Jays kicks off the World Series, hosting the Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 1 at Rogers Centre at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Go Jays, go! We now want to tell you about this week's 3 web poll questions. Over on our website, we ask, do you rely on country food to supplement what you shop for? Your answers are yes, no, or I can't hunt. Our second question was, should the Ontario Provincial Police and Tyendinaga Police apologize to the families of 2 Mohawk fishermen for being wrong about how they drowned? This was the APTN Investigate story we ran last weekend. You can answer yes, no, or unsure. And our third question, which social media site are you on the most? You can answer TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, Blue Sky, Other, or I don't use social media. You can go to our website at aptnnews.ca to have your say. We have more news after the break. Stay with us. Quanaf for staying with us. St. John's, rain and 16. Charlottetown, sunny and 14. Cartwright, sunny and 13. The Grand River, 5. Gaspé, 8. Quebec City, 9. Toronto, partly cloudy at 9. Showers in London at 7. Big Trout Lake, 0. Sioux Lookout, +1. Churchill, -1. Thompson, 2. Gimli, 4. Winnipeg, +4. North Battleford, cloudy and 4. Saskatoon, 2. Meadow Lake, -3. Stony Rapids, +2. Rain in Fort Chipewyan at 8. Fort McMurray, 8 as well. 12 in Calgary. Red Deer, 12. Vancouver, 11. Bella Coola, 1. Dees Lake, 2. Smithers, showers in 6. Old Crow, -8. Beaver Creek, -2. Norman Wells, -2. Watee, 2. -6 in Sax Harbor. Polituck, -3 and rain. Partly cloudy in Baker Lake at 3. Chesterfield, 3. And -7 in Arctic Bay. Igloolik, -1. Anthony Faraci established Faraci Foods in 2014 in Winnipeg, where he combines his Métis and Italian heritage to share made-from-scratch food to the community. One of the foods that Faraci Foods created is Bannock in a box. Faraci Foods and Red River Métis Marketplace recently made a surprise donation together to the Main Street Project, an organization working with the unhoused with over 900 pieces of Bannock. Anthony joined our Dennis Ward earlier in studio to talk about his passion for food. Here's that interview.
Anthony, thanks so much for being with us here today. Could you tell us a bit about yourself and about Faraci Foods?
Yeah, we're actually celebrating our 10th year this year, so that's some pretty exciting news. I started off with, I guess, the love of Bannock, as my shirt goes to show, which led into a couple of our food trailers, and
Nice. Can you talk a bit more about what the Bannock factory is and how it operates?
For sure. So the Bannock factory has a staple product called Bannock in a box, which is pre-baked, packaged, and ready to heat Bannock. I guess the idea behind that is to make a simple food a little more convenient and easily accessible for those who maybe don't have someone in their lives to make it for them anymore, or you're just in that pinch. I mean, in today's world, I think convenience is a big thing when it comes to food and many other aspects of life.
Can you tell us about the Bannock factory?
Yeah, so I guess the idea started with not just the love of food, but I guess growing up knowing and enjoying Bannock, with our family. So it was always more like that special food, right? So I guess just chatting with my dad one day, it kind of came to us on how do we bring something that's maybe well known out there to more of a mainstream, or again more of an accessible product in today's world.
So how did you arrive at Bannock in a box?
Yeah, I guess more the name. It's it left us thinking, and I know a lot of names kind of floated around, but at the end of the day, it may sound funny, but it explains what it is. It's Bannock in a box, right? So.
How have sales been going?
They've been doing pretty well. Like I mentioned, we've been at this for about 10 years now, so definitely seen some steady growth and more popularity going. Not just on the retail side of things, but we've linked up with some bigger distributors across the province that have been able to bring our product not just throughout Manitoba now, but expanding into some other provinces. That's been pretty exciting for us over the last few years now.
Well, aside from sales, a few days ago, Bannock Factory also donated 900 pieces of Bannock to the Main Street project here in Winnipeg. Could you tell us a bit more about why you wanted to team up there and give back to the community?
Yeah, so I guess that started, we just finished up with the MMF, their annual General Assembly, and most events like that, we'll team up with the Red River Métis Marketplace and offer some free Bannock to the citizens showing up. But it's always nice to set aside some pieces to give back to the community. And we worked with Main Street Project a few times in the past, and it's always nice to give back where we can to those in need. And I mean, for them, that's going to go a long way, right? They go through hundreds of people on a daily basis or even weekly, so it's nice to see that something like that we work towards, that now we're able to give back in a way.
Yeah, nice work there, nicely done. Can you tell us a bit about how you think you've improved the accessibility of Bannock to those trying to reconnect, and how it may help those who've lost traditions or recipes?
Yeah, I guess the comment we get a lot when folks are coming up to the food truck, whether to get a Bannock burger or just a Bannock and jam, it's maybe bringing them back to that memory they had, of someone special in their life that maybe used to make it for them. But as time goes on, maybe recipes are lost, or just the need or the time to make something has gone. So for something like this, it's nice to hear folks coming up and saying, yeah, like that reminds me of maybe my granny's house, or sitting around a campfire and making it that way. So it's nice to kind of, I guess, rekindle those memories in others by sharing a family recipe of ours.
Well, nice stuff, Anthony. I'll be looking for your food trucks. Appreciate you coming in to talk to us about this.
Perfect. I appreciate you having us down.
Looks like some really yummy Bannock. And that's your daytime newscast for this Friday. We're back again in a few hours for your evening newscast. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News Daytime, have a safe weekend with family, and we'll see you again next week. Excellent.